This is an old bathtub. Oh look, there's another one.
Give you a good time. Give you a good.
Yes, we already have a second bike, ladies and gentlemen. This is my Harley Davidson FXS from 1980. It's a Shovelhead with a big fat tire, as you can see. It's a bit rough around the edges, but we'll get it sorted out. Now, as I climb my way out of this jungle, you need to know that this is a old man, a grumpy old man actually. And like any old man, he leaks in more places than one. But you gotta start somewhere, so today we're gonna try to fix this leak that you see here. You see that little bit of oil? That shouldn't be there. There's a seal behind it, which, well, should seal, but it doesn't. So we're gonna see if we can fix that up today. I just realized I didn't introduce you guys properly. So meet Walter. Meet Walter. Walter already got a bit of an update backstage. He got these tiny little LED blinkers because he didn't have any and that was a bit unsafe. Got some mirrors, again, a bit unsafe. The new fuel holes, that was dry rotted, bit unsafe. Fuel filter, and there were some buttons located there, the horns and the blinkers. We relocated them to the steering wheel, as it should be. Yes, it's less clean on the handlebars, but it's just safer. The same tiny blinkers on the back, little bracket, barely notice them. So that was the intention. Next to being leaky, this thing is also heavy, and since it doesn't run at the moment, I had to push it quite a bit to get here. Flat tires really don't help though, so first thing first, get some air in the tires. Now for the real job, we need to get this big nut off with an air gun. Never used it before, but I've had it laying around for a while, so we'll see how it goes. Not too bad after all. Came loose quite easily, quite quickly. Was just able to get it off by hand. Pulley should be loose now, so it's just a matter of getting it off the axle. Tried to pull it off by hand, but quickly realized that it wouldn't budge, so bigger tools are needed. As far as I know, Walter isn't a vampire. Luckily, because he's got a wooden stake right through the middle of him at the moment. It's just because I couldn't reach the little lip with any sort of hammer, and now I sort of can. It ain't stupid if it works, right? Et voila, one loose pulley. This is what we are greeted with behind the pulley. The black cover is overlapping, so that's the next piece to come off. Some bolts here all around, and then this one I hope I can get a ratchet on, but we'll see. I'm gonna try to keep this chrome cover on, but if it has to come off, it has to come off. Oil might come flowing out soon, so some precautions. Ended up using this, I think it's a spark plug socket, to get the bolt off with limited access. And with all the bolts out, the cover just came right off. The The next part that needs to come off is the part which holds the magnets. So these help to generate electricity when the bike is running, but it also means that it needs quite a bit of force because the magnets are quite strong and that it kept pulling itself back on the shaft. So you really had to lift it off, pull it far enough until it's out of reach for the magnet. I eventually got it off when I was not filming, but as you can see, it's not secured with screws or anything, it's just the magnets holding it on, so you really have to just slide it off the axle. Now we also get our first view at the seal and the spacer that we are gonna replace today. We need to replace both the seal and the spacer because the spacer gets worn and it might not seal with a completely new seal. We need to somehow pull the seal out, and to do that we're gonna use some screws. It's, as far as I know, the only way. We're just gonna screw them in there a little bit, and then it should be enough to grip them with these grip pliers and hopefully just pull them out. I start by just tapping the screw to try to pierce the seal so we can screw it further in, and then when it's secure we'll just yank it. So this is what it looks like with the screw in. Of course not too much because there's some stuff behind the seal that you don't want to damage. Now we'll use the screwdriver here to be able to leverage against the axle, and it should just pop out. There it goes, not too hard after all. We will wait a bit for Walter to finish his little wee here, and then we can start assembling again. We get the new spacer and the new seal here, ready to go in. But first I think you guys know what time it is. To get the seal in you can buy a beautiful tool, but that's not how we do things here on the Nemo channel, is it? We're just gonna use some old PVC piping, because that's how we do stuff. This one is for this, the spacer actually, and then I have another one, which with some adaptations, it should work for the seal. See this, it's like a, I don't know what you would call this, connector thing for some PVC pipes. But if we switch this piece in front of it, then it has the perfect diameter for the seal. First I'm gonna coat the parts in some oil, sport bike oil, exactly what Walter needs. This just helps with sealing and with installation. With all of this done, it's time to put the parts in there. We're just gonna put them in by hand to keep them in place, and then we will use our magnificent custom extravaganza PVC parts to hopefully put them in properly. Don't know why I'm still surprised by this, but that worked pretty well. Should have some more confidence in our custom tools, don't you think? Look at them. Brilliant! Seal is in, space is in, so time for assembly. I gave all these parts a good cleaning to get as much of the oil off as possible. Then it was time to assemble Mr. Magnet over here, but this thing basically assembles itself. Just hold it close enough, make sure the splines match up, and then it just assembles itself. The cover could do with some cleaning as well, and now that it is off, might as well do it now. Unfortunately, the threads of one hole got stripped. It's not a big deal for now, but we will have to look into it later. With everything in place, it's time for the brap gun again to get the nut on. And just like that, we are all done. Walter's surgery is completed. Let's hope it was successful. Everything looks good. Belt is in the correct position. It's seated well, there's no play in it. Everything looks to be okay. Would you look at this handsome chap? He did well today. It's time to tuck him back into bed and hope he doesn't wet it tonight. I'm gonna clean up this battlefield. Wakey wakey, Walter. It's time for your second surgery. Yay. Walter still lives above his dripping pan because of the second leak, but we're gonna try to fix that today. Second leak is located in the oil pump, which is what we see here. Let me try to explain the problem to you. This is a well-known problem for these type of engines, which happens inside of the oil pump. There is a ball, a check ball, and it's just on top of an open channel, and that should seal the oil. There's a spring on top of it, which isn't strong enough or just gets too flexible over time. I'm not sure what causes it. But this, after a while, doesn't seal right. So oil seeps through here to the bottom of the engine, and then when you start the engine it blows all the excess oil out through a breather just onto the ground, so you make a mighty big mess of your garage. As I said, this is a known problem with shovelheads. Some people just ignore it, some people fix it the proper way, which is by lapping this or sort of grinding this to make the ball and the channel fit to each other perfectly. But fixing something perfectly, that's not what we do here, so we're just gonna try to botch it. Will it work? I don't know. If it doesn't, then we'll have to do it the proper way, but for now we're just gonna try this and see if it works. First thing first, we're gonna clamp off the oil excess feed. Now I don't know if this is strictly necessary, but I didn't want to take the chance because we're inside here. Well, I didn't want to do it outside either. But just to be sure, we're gonna clamp it off. I struggled so much with this screw, but it finally gave way. That's why I didn't catch it on film, unfortunately. I used this thing, however, medieval screwdriver, which has a square bit on it, so I can use a wrench to really put some force on the screw, because that's the only way it was coming out. Now it's just a matter of getting the old check ball valve out, and I'm gonna use a rod with some magnets attached to it, and it should just pop out. Ta-da! Okay, now the plan is to put a new ball bearing in and tap it a couple of times with a metal rod and a hammer so that it deforms the seating area slightly to fit to the ball better or perfectly. Then we will take that ball out, put another brand new ball in there, put the spring on top, close the screw, and Bob's your uncle. Surprisingly, the spring that came out and the original new one I got aren't the same. So maybe someone else tried fixing this problem before. Maybe this is the culprit of the problem. Who knows? I'm gonna replace it with the original one and then we'll see. So I assembled everything as said before back in the order it came out basically. Tightened everything up, used the wrench and screwdriver combo again, removed the clamp, and that's the end of this install. And with that, it was time to wish Walter a good night, put him into bed, and hope he doesn't pee. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like, leave your feedback in the comments, and I'll see you next time.